All right, guys, welcome to episode number 6 of the ConquerMe podcast. This is going to be a good one, so buckle up. I've been really excited about doing this topic because it's something that people struggle with, that I work with on a daily basis, and that is self-sabotaging. And I've dealt with this too, and it's a major issue, and we've got to figure out how to overcome it, or else we're going to continue to destroy the progress that we work so hard for over and over and over. So before we jump into this, let's just talk about and identify what self-sabotaging actually is. It's the idea that we work really hard towards something. Maybe it's weight loss, maybe it's saving money, whatever it is. Maybe it's improving our relationships, but we only go back and destroy the progress that we worked so hard for by just reverting back to old habits and behaviors that got us in that place in the first place, right? So we've all been through this. We've all been through some level of self-sabotaging. It's most common actually in weight loss. Like I see it the most in weight loss. And I'm in that field and I work with people all the time that are in that are trying to accomplish that goal of weight loss, but they usually end up going back to the old habits and beliefs that got them where they were in the first place, no matter how bad they wanted this goal. And so today we're going to talk about reasons why people self-sabotage. We're going to talk about some examples of self-sabotaging. And then we're also going to get into how to stop self-sabotaging. So here's some good examples of this. You start a diet to lose weight, and then you quit shortly after. You get sober from alcohol because it's wrecking your life, but then you soon find yourself drinking again. You decide to get your finances in order, but then you notice that no matter how hard you try to save and budget, your spending becomes worse than ever and gets more out of control than ever. We've all been here, right? We've all experienced some of this. So here's the reason why we self-sabotage. There's multiple, and I want to go through those one by one, and then I'm going to give you some very clear examples and solutions on how we can stop self-sabotaging. So the first reason is that we're just not aware that we're even doing it, right? I'm seeing this left and right now in my fitness business. People are quote unquote taking a break, and they're going to quote unquote circle back after the first of the year. So these people have worked their behinds off for the last, 6 months or year or even 3 months, whatever it's been. They've made a commitment to improve their health and fitness. But now that the holidays are coming, they think, because they're unaware, that they can just take a break. Oh, I'm just going to take a break. I'll just jump right back in where I left off. No harm, no foul. I've worked this hard. I've gained this progress. I'm just going to keep that progress and I'm just going to jump right back in. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to enjoy family. I'm going to enjoy food. I'm going to spend all my money on presents and things that people don't need or whatever. It's a whole nother topic. But the idea is that we're not aware of the fact that what that quote unquote break, how devastating that's going to be for us. So we're unaware. That's the first reason. We don't even know that we're self-sabotaging or that we're about to self-sabotage. The second reason is self-preservation. We have a very primal brain, and that brain wants to do everything that it can possibly do to help us avoid pain and to help us survive. So sometimes the reason we self-sabotage is the brain is trying to protect us. The brain wants us to carry extra weight. The brain wants us to avoid pain. The brain wants us to stay away from anything that's uncomfortable because that means that we could potentially be at risk of not surviving, right? That's the way our primal brain is. It's built to protect us, to keep us alive, and to keep us away from pain. So sometimes if we don't know how to overcome that, and again, we're not aware of that's even happening, we don't know how to condition our brain to overcome and to move forward and move past that. Okay, so another reason is we're stuck in a negative habit loop and it's too painful to switch so quickly. So if you've been doing the same things, eating the same way, not moving, spending the same way, whatever it is, and you've never had a governor on that, you've never had anything kind of no guardrails around any of that stuff, and you try to radically change, most of the time it's going to be way too fast to change that quickly. It's going to be too painful, and our self-preserving brain is going to jump into play, and it's going to cause us to go back to what we used to do because, again, it's comfortable, right? That's where our brain wants to be, in a place of comfort, not in a place where it's feeling threatened or could possibly have to go through some resistance. All right, so that's it. We're just in a negative habit loop that we've been in so long that it's really hard to jump out of that rut. I explain it all the time like a rut in the yard that you drive through over and over. It's very easy to drive through that rut. But if you start to kind of drive on the side of that rut, you'll fall right back in it. It's the same type of thing with the way that we think and the way that our daily habits work. Okay, the next thing is we lack self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth, or self-belief. We don't believe that it's possible to achieve the goal that we want to achieve because we've never actually done it. Okay, so that's a huge one. If you don't have evidence proving that you can do what you're setting out to do, guess what? You're going to sabotage it because you don't even believe it. You're like, what? Why? You start and you're excited, but then you start all the things that come up, which we're going to talk about next, the thoughts, the self-talk. You don't have any evidence to prove that it is anything other than the fact that you're going to fail because you've never been successful before. Okay, so it's a lack of self-esteem, it's a lack of self-confidence, self-worth, or self-belief. Then the next thing is negative thoughts and self-talk. This is so big, and most people just totally brush this off like it's unimportant and it's a kind of a woo-woo thing and it doesn't really matter. The way you talk to yourself, the way you think about your goals, about your worth, about what it's going to take to get there, and the things that you tell yourself about those things, the stories that you tell yourself about the particular thing that you're trying to accomplish literally makes all the difference of whether or not you're going to complete that task or you're going to self-sabotage and go back to what's comfortable. It is everything. Most of us have stories in our head that we're looping and replaying over and over in the form of thought that don't serve us. They don't help us get where we want to go, but we continue to think them and say them over and over and over and over again, either consciously or subconsciously, and it is causing us to self-sabotage over and over and over. And guys, every time we do this, every time we start and stop, it becomes harder and harder and harder to start again. And it becomes easier and easier to stop and to quit, right? There's actually a study that was done for people that were trying to lose weight, and it showed that every time you gain and lose weight over and over and over again, it becomes 50% harder to lose the weight next time and 50% easier to gain it back. It's the same thing with your thought patterns. Every time you think a thought and then you go do the action, it reinforces that thought and causes us to engage even further and dig a deeper rut in the belief system that that's the way it's supposed to be. And that's where these stories come from. The stories come from us failing so many times, starting and stopping, giving up too much. And then we continue to say those things to ourselves over and over and think those things. So we've got to break those thought patterns and we've got to change our self-talk. Okay, the next thing is we fear failure. Like, this is kind of an obvious one. What if we don't succeed? What if we start this thing and we don't make it? It's so much easier just to stay right where we're at than it is to take the chance to get up and go out there and take a risk of us not making it, right? I mean, I tell the story about a dog sitting on a porch, and a guy's walking by and he sees this old man sitting on his porch and his dog laying next to him, and he's kind of howling, making noise like he's in pain. So the man walks up to the porch and says, "Sir, do you see that your dog is in pain?" He said, "Oh yeah, he's laying on a nail." And the guy says, "Well, why don't he get up?" And the guy says, "Well, it just doesn't hurt bad enough yet." He's more comfortable staying where he's at in pain and less willing to get up and take a chance and do the work and move. So we're like that in a lot of ways. We stay right where we're at because we're afraid of what could happen if we take a risk. Okay, so the next one is fear of being deprived. This is something people don't talk about a lot, but it comes from a scarcity mindset toward food or money or relationships or whatever, and it's usually linked to past traumas. So for me and my household, we didn't have like an abundance of food. I mean, we had enough, right? I never went hungry, but we never had an abundance of good food. We had plenty of ramen noodles and cereal and things like that. But now today, when I can eat steak, I tend to overeat because I have this subconscious idea that it's scarce and there's not enough and I better fill up. And a lot of you guys struggle with that too. A lot of the clients that I work with are overcoming that currently. Like, hey, there's plenty of food to go around, but if you come from a scarcity mindset, you're gonna have the subconscious idea that you need to eat more, consume more, spend more, because what if it goes away? It's the same thing with money. Broke people usually overspend. And the reason they're broke is because they think that there is a lack of money. There is an abundance. The reality is there is an absolute abundance of money. Everywhere you look, there's money. Everywhere you look, there's people with money. We're printing money every single day, nonstop, 24/7. We are printing money. It is coming into the economy. But if you come from a lack of money, you think that you need to spend it on the things that you want that make you feel good because it's going to run out soon, which is so counterproductive because it does run out. When you keep spending it, right, it does run out. And when you don't know how to generate more because you don't have the right mindset around it, then you get into a problem with that. So fear of being deprived is a huge one. The next one is fear of success. What are people going to think if I lose this weight? What are people going to think if I have this success? Are they going to be mad? Are they going to be jealous? This is a huge subconscious limiting belief and cause for us to self-sabotage because we are people pleasers and we're afraid that if we do succeed, it's going to shed light on someone else's lack of effort and willingness to do what it takes to be successful, and they're going to be mad at us. They're going to be disappointed. They're going to be jealous. And we'll go to the end of the earth. For some of us, and I struggle with this too, for being a people pleaser, we will sabotage our own success to avoid making someone feel upset. Now, the reality is these people usually don't really care about us anyway. If they really did, they would want us to be successful. They would want us to lose the weight. They would want us to be happy. They would want us to avoid bankruptcy. But we will make decisions for people that don't really want what's best for us, either consciously or subconsciously, to keep them happy. So we really fear what happens if we're successful. The other thing is, what if we succeed and it's not all that we thought it would be? What if we're disappointed at the end? What if we lose the 50 pounds and it's not rainbows and sunshine and it's just not what we expected it to be? It's easier just to stay where we're at sometime and kind of go back to where we came from than to take the risk of charting that path and being successful and finding out that we're disappointed at the end. All right, so another one is unrealistic expectations. We don't have clear expectations around what it's going to take for us to achieve the goal that we have. And we become really disappointed once we start doing the work and it's more than what we thought it would be. The investment of time or energy or resources is much greater than we thought it was going to be. So we get pissed off and we go back to where we came from, right? We never set the right expectation in the first place. We just said, hey, it's the new year. We're going to start this thing and do this thing, and it's going to be awesome. We're going to lose a bunch of weight. I'm going to join the gym. It's going to be great. You don't understand that you've got to change your actual identity. Every fabric of your body and the way that you think and your mind and your soul and your habits and all of these things are going to have to change. Now, they don't have to change day one, but they're going to have to change. And if you don't walk into this thing knowing that, then you're going to be really disappointed when you realize that minimal effort is not going to get you maximum results. Minimal effort is going to get you minimal results at best. Okay, so we've got to have the right expectation when we're going into this thing, or else we're going to fail. We're going to resort back. We're going to self-sabotage. People pleasing. I talked a little bit about this one. We'll do whatever it takes to make other people happy. It's a huge issue. We care more about other people than we do ourselves sometimes. Inability to manage our emotions when life gets hard. When things get really tough and we're stressed out, maybe we have a family member issue, maybe we have something unexpected happen in our life, and we don't know how to handle that yet. We're not emotionally mature enough to handle that. Guess what we do? We shut down, we push in all of our chips, and we go home. Okay, because the thought of continuing on a path is harder than the idea of just going back to what's comfortable. So we just tend to quit. We tend to give up on the things that we were working so hard for because we become overwhelmed emotionally. We can't handle the idea of any more resistance. We have not developed the emotional intelligence yet and the emotional resiliency to push through when things get really, really hard. All right, so the very last thing that I want to cover here is we're not willing to make the investment in what it actually takes to overcome the challenges that we're facing in our lives. We're not willing to spend the time, we're not willing to spend the energy, and we're not willing to spend the money. Sometimes it takes money, it takes time, it takes resources, it takes energy, well, all the time, to achieve a goal, right? In my world, it's mostly health and fitness. It's weight loss. People don't want to spend the time in the gym, right? It's just easier to go back to where we came from. People don't want to spend the energy in the gym. It's hard. It's inconvenient, right? People don't want to spend the money. This is a big one. Some of you guys need to hire a coach who can help you go all in on the mindsets, beliefs, routines, habits, all the things that are required to have success long term. You need to stop trying to save money on your health and fitness. Like, I don't apologize about that. I run a program called ConquerMe Coaching, hence the name of the podcast, ConquerMe, that is all about going deep and helping people actually solve their problem, but it's expensive. And it's expensive for a reason, because it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of resources. And I need your commitment to be where your money is. And most of the time, people aren't spending enough. They don't have enough invested. They don't have enough skin in the game. And they say things like, oh, I can't afford it. But yet they drive a vehicle, an $80,000 vehicle, and their car note is $700 or $800 a month or more. You can spend it on a car note, but you won't spend it on your own health and fitness, right? It's mind-blowing, but it's really just a lack of priorities that people have, and they don't think about it this way. They're like, well, yeah, I'm willing to spend, a couple grand per month on a mortgage on a house, and $8,000 or $1,000 on a car, and go out to eat and spend, $1,500 a month on food and coffee. Oh, no, but I'm not spending this money on my health and fitness. That's expensive. And it's the reason why people are where they are. It's the reason why America is mostly obese. It's the reason why people can't get out of this hamster wheel of trying to lose weight over and over and over and over. And they keep purchasing the cheap little challenge and the little thing and the program and whatever, and it's not working. Guys, some of you need to shift your perspective about where your money needs to go and where your energy needs to go if you really want to live a happy and more fulfilled life, and you want to avoid all the consequences that come with being overweight. And I'm challenging you on this. If you look at your expense sheet and the things that you're spending on your health and fitness is not at the very top, your priorities are jacked up. If you're overweight and you've been overweight for a long time and you just can't figure out how to lose this weight sustainably, and you're not putting the vast majority of your time and resources and money, at least more than your car note, at least more than your mortgage, at least more than your out to eat and coffee budget, if these things aren't more important than your health and fitness, then you're not going to get where you want to go. And I get passionate about this because I want so bad for people to be successful, and I know exactly what it takes. And I'm going to give you a little secret. It's way more than what most people think it takes. It's not just a matter of exercise in a couple days. You got a lot of inner work. You got a lot of mindset work. Your hormones are jacked up. Your gut health is a wreck. There's so many issues for most of you that are trying to lose weight, especially if you've been carrying this weight for a long time and you've had the habits that led to weight being there in the first place. You got some work to do, but we're not willing to invest the time, resources, or money. We say things like we can't afford it, but we go to Starbucks every day. We eat out every day. We're spending things. We're nearing the holidays. This is a big one coming into Thanksgiving and Christmas. We're going to buy a bunch of plastic for people and gifts and toys For people that may or may not ever use it or play with it, we're going to spend thousands of dollars on these things for Christmas instead of investing in our own health and fitness. Mind-blowing, right? Like, it comes down to people literally telling me on a daily basis, oh, Jay, I can't afford to invest in that program because Christmas is around the corner. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Well, I've got to buy gifts for people. So your gift to them that is a very short-term pleasure for them that they may or may not ever use and they may or may not even care about is more important to you than investing in yourself and they getting a card or a hug or a smaller gift. That's where our priorities are. And again, it goes back to people pleasing. A lot of issues there. But what if this year you just told these people, hey, listen, we're not doing a bunch of gifts this year. Instead, I'm investing in myself. I'm investing 1 year in my health and fitness, whatever it takes for the next 12 months. I'm going to put the money, the time, the resources, and I'm going to solve this problem once and for all so that I never have to spend this much time, money, and resources on this thing again. Challenging you guys. Christmas will come and go. You'll still be right where you're at. You'll be more disappointed than ever because now you've indulged because you have to, right? There's parties, there's family. It's family. This is tradition. We have to do this. We have to take time off of exercise. We have to eat all the cakes and the pies and the parties. We got to drink all the alcohol because it's Christmas. It's tradition. So you wake up January, 15 pounds heavier. You're inflamed. You're aggravated. You have anxiety. Your credit card bills are through the roof, and you have nothing to show for it. Guys, I'm telling you, we got to do things differently this year. If you're listening to this around the holidays, obviously this is a podcast, so you might not be. But regardless, it's the same. Let's put our time, money, and energy into the things that matter most and stop trying to please people and going back to the old ways of self-sabotaging. All right, so enough about that. I get fired up about that topic, but let's move on. So how do we stop self-sabotaging? First of all, we got to become aware that we're even doing it by asking the right questions and then talking these things through with someone who's familiar with self-sabotaging behaviors and can recognize it, right? I'm seeing it again right now in my fitness facility. People are reaching out, hey, it's the holidays, money's a little tight, I need to take a break. And I'm like, self-sabotaging behavior. You've worked so hard, you're about to lose everything that you've gained and some, and you probably won't make it back. Most people can't make it back. Making progress is hard. It takes a lot of sacrifice. It takes a change of mindset. It takes a lot. And for people to go back to what they were doing before is a really, really tough pill to swallow. And to gain all the weight back and to move backwards, most people don't have the resiliency to get back up and move forward again. So you need to first become aware that it's actually happening by learning how to identify these self-limiting behaviors. And the best way to do that is to talk with someone, a coach or someone that's familiar with self-sabotaging behaviors, and open yourself up to being vulnerable for them telling you when it's happening. I have a coach. He says, hey man, you're about to sabotage your progress by the way that you think. I can hear in your language that you're about to sabotage everything that you worked so hard for, Jay. And I got to go, yeah, okay, well, maybe you're right. What do you mean? Okay, I can totally see what you mean there. Okay, so that's the first thing, is becoming self-aware. The next thing is we need to take a slow and steady approach, not an all or nothing perfectionism type of approach to making progress in the area that we're trying to make progress in. When you try to flip the script too fast and you try to go from one extreme to the other, it's too hard. It's too much suffering. Our brain is not going to tolerate that. And it's going to cause us to jump back into our old behaviors. Okay, the next thing is we've got to start working on our thinking, our self-talk, and our belief systems. Okay, I can sit here and listen to someone talk about weight loss or about money or about business or about relationships or whatever, because I've been through the struggles of a lot of these things and I'm still overcoming in every one of these areas every day on a daily basis. But I've come far enough that I can listen to people who haven't maybe had the progress yet in those areas. I can listen to their language and I go, self-sabotaging. That's not serving them. That's going to cause them to move backwards. I can hear it. And every single time it happens, you just know. It's like when people are thinking a certain way, they're talking a certain way, they're acting a certain way, they're going to get a certain outcome every single time. And being on the other side of some of these things, or at least having made a small amount of progress, when I talk to people who have not been through that, done that work and been through that process and that journey of becoming aware and changing their self-talk and changing their behaviors, I can see it every single time. So we have to have a plan in place to change our thinking, our self-talk, and our belief systems, because most of our belief system is causing us to be where we're at. If we're not happy, it's because it's the way we believe about happiness, or it's the way we believe about sadness, or it's the way we believe about our self-worth. If we're overweight, it's because the way we believe about food and exercise and all these things, our belief systems are causing us to be right where we're at. The next thing is we need to take time to really walk through the best and the worst case scenarios of both success and failure. We need to go, okay, what if I do succeed? What's the worst thing that can happen? Maybe people are a little bit disappointed. Well, let's think about that. What if they are disappointed? How long is that going to last? Are they going to get over it? They'll get over it. But then they get over it and you still get to enjoy success, right? So the worst case is you have to have a tough conversation with someone who gets jealous because you lost a bunch of weight, and you have to call it what it is. Hey, listen, I can sense that you're a little bit disappointed, or kind of like, I kind of feel like you're trying to pull me back to my old ways. What's going on there? Well, I mean, you just think you're better than us now that you lost weight. This is an extreme example, but this happens, maybe not like so consciously, but it happens very, very subconsciously. And you can go, whoa, wait a minute. Well, tell me more about that. Like, my understanding is that you love me and you care about me and you'd want me to be successful. Well, yeah, I do. And you might have to have that conversation. Again, extreme example, but there are times that people have to distance themselves from their old association because they find out that people would much rather you stay right where you're at, which is next to them on their level, than to move forward, because it makes them feel uncomfortable and they begin to try to get you to self-sabotage. Okay, so when you work through the best and worst case scenario on both sides and you have an honest conversation with yourself, normally you see that it's really not that bad, but it really is that good, right? The worst case scenario is not really that bad, but the best case scenario is really worth fighting for. Okay, the next thing is we have to learn to put ourselves first, no matter what. I don't care if you have a sick family member. I don't care if money is tight. I don't care if you're limited on time. There is nothing or no one more important than you. There is nothing more important on the planet than taking care of you first. This is not selfish. This is not mean. It's just the way that it is. If you're not your absolute best for yourself, how are you going to be your best for other people? If your cup is half empty, how are you going to pour into someone else? If you don't have the energy and the stability and the emotional, kind of emotional stability, how are you going to be there and your very best for other people? There's this concept that, like, especially with women, that we need to take care of everyone else first. And you hear them on the plane saying, put your mask on first. It's so true, and it's something that people miss, and we self-sabotage because we go, well, this person really needs me right now. Listen, I'm not being insensitive to that. I understand if you have family that need you, you need to be there for them, and you need to be present, and you need to do whatever it takes to take care of those people. But part of that is taking care of yourself, and I don't care how busy you are. I don't care how much family you have. I don't care what the time is like. I don't care how little money you have. You can prioritize taking care of yourself, and you need to. Okay, this one is huge, guys. So the next one is you just need to make a plan. You need to come up with a good plan that encompasses some really good action steps and realistic expectations, and you need to stick with it long enough to build belief and momentum. Self-sabotage comes from doubt. Self-sabotage comes from fear. Self-sabotage comes from lack. Self-sabotage comes from our inability to believe that we are worthy enough and able and capable to do the things that need to be done to have the success that we want to have. And we've got to prove ourselves wrong by just committing to a plan on a daily basis of small, daily, consistent habits, nothing monumental, but consistent change over time, long enough that we build evidence for the fact that we can finish, we can overcome, we can do the thing, we are capable, we are worthy. The only way to build belief in yourself is to commit to the process and the journey that it's going to take to get us where we want to go. That's it. You can't talk your way into it. You can't just manifest it. You can't write it down enough. All those things are important, but ultimately it comes to taking action. Now, the action comes a lot easier when you are doing those things, when you are engaging in positive self-talk, and you do have a affirmation process and a gratitude process, and you are journaling, and you are hanging around the right people, and you are reading and watching and listening to motivational things. Of course, all that's going to make it much easier, but you can't plan and 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 never take action. Ultimately, it comes to taking action, and the more prepared you are, of course, it's going to be easier. But guys, we'll sit there to get ready, to get ready, to get ready, to get ready, and we never launch. At some point, you have to develop a plan. You got to get clear on what's going to be required to accomplish that mission, and you got to hit the streets. You got to put boots to the ground. You got to start taking action. So guys, that's it for this episode. I really hope you have a better understanding of what self-sabotage is, why we do it, and then how we can overcome it, because it is the thing that's causing so many of us to keep going back over and over and wasting the progress that we've had and that we've worked so hard for. So my mission for you is to become aware, to start dealing with it, and to overcome it once and for all so you can live your absolute best, most productive, happiest version of yourself. Thanks for listening.